Daniel Cross had always believed that the most interesting stories lived in the margins, in the quiet corners of power, in the subtle cracks of legacy. He'd spent years chasing them: a reclusive billionaire who built a private zoo in the Alps, a forgotten jazz legend living above a laundromat in Harlem, a cult leader who claimed to channel the ghost of Winston Churchill. But nothing had prepared him for Hawthorne Hall. The invitation had arrived in a way that felt almost theatrical. A courier in a black suit handed him a thick envelope, sealed with wax and embossed with a crest that looked like it belonged on a medieval shield. Inside was a letter written in elegant cursive. "Mr. Cross, you are cordially invited to Hawthorne Hall to document the legacy of the Hawthorne family. I believe our story is one worth telling, not for its grandeur, but for its truth. You will have full access to our archives, our staff, and myself. I ask only that you come with an open mind and D.A. sharp pen. Yours sincerely, Lady Eleanor Hawthorne." Daniel had read it twice, then once more aloud. It was the kind of letter that felt like a trap disguised as an opportunity. But curiosity won out, as it always did. 2 weeks later, he found himself in a black cab winding through the English countryside. The landscape was a patchwork of green fields and stone fences, dotted with sheep and the occasional weathered barn. The driver, a man named Colin, had been chatty at first, but grew quiet as they approached the estate. "You'll want tea to watch yourself," Colin said finally, his voice low. "The Hawthorns aren't like the rest of us." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "How so?" Colin hesitated. "They think they're gods. Especially the young one." The cab turned onto a long gravel drive flanked by ancient oaks. And then, like something out of a Gothic novel, Hawthorne Hall appeared, massive, ivy-covered, with turrets that pierced the sky and windows that seemed to watch you. Standing at the top of the stone steps was a man in an AV suit, holding a champagne flute. He looked like he'd stepped out of a fashion magazine: perfectly styled hair, tailored clothes, and the kind of posture that screamed privilege. "Daniel Cross," he said, not asking but confirming. "I'm Sebastian, the heir." Daniel stepped out of the cab and extended a hand. Sebastian didn't take it. "Mother's inside," he said, turning toward the door. "She's obsessed with legacy. I'm more interested in destiny." Daniel followed him in. To the hall, his recorder tucked in his coat pocket, already running. Inside, Hawthorne Hall was a cathedral of wealth. The foyer was lined with marble, the staircase curved like a ribbon, and the walls were adorned with oil portraits of stern-looking ancestors. A suit of armor stood in one corner, polished to a mirror shine. Sebastian led Daniel through the drawing room, where a fire crackled in an ornate hearth. The furniture was antique, the rugs Persian, and the air smelled faint of lavender and old books. "She'll want to talk to you first," Sebastian said, pouring himself another glass of champagne. "She thinks you're here to preserve something. I think you're here to watch it burn." Daniel didn't respond. He was too busy absorbing the atmosphere, the quiet tension, the weight of history pressing down on every surface. Lady Eleanor entered the room like a queen. She was tall, silver-haired, and dressed in a deep green velvet gown. Her eyes were sharp, her posture regal. "Mr. Cross," she said warmly. "Welcome to Hawthorne Hall." Daniel stood. "Thank you for the invitation. It's remarkable." She smiled, but there was sadness in it. "It was once. Now it's a relic." "But relics have stories, don't they?" Daniel nodded. "That's why I'm here." She gestured for him to sit. "You'll have access to everything. The archives, the staff, even Sebastian, though I warn you, he's not always cooperative." Sebastian smirked from across the room. "I'm always cooperative." When? It suits me. Lady Eleanor ignored him. I want you to see the truth, Mr. Cross. Not just the grandeur. The cracks. Daniel leaned forward. What kind of cracks? She looked out the window, where the sun was beginning to set behind the trees. The kind that form when entitlement replaces responsibility. When inheritance becomes a weapon instead of a gift. Sebastian drained his glass. Mother loves her metaphors. You'll get used to it. Daniel glanced at him. And you? What do you think? I'll find here? Sebastian smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. A kingdom. And a crown waiting for the right head. Lady Eleanor stood. Dinner is at 7. Margaret will show you to your room. As she left, Sebastian turned to Daniel. You're going to love it here. Just remember, everything you see belongs to me. Eventually. Daniel didn't reply. He simply followed Margaret, the head housekeeper, up the grand staircase, past portraits and tapestries, to a guest room that was larger than his entire apartment. As he unpacked, he thought about the letter, the cab driver's warning, and the look in Lady Eleanor's eyes. This wasn't just a story about legacy. It was a story about rot. And it had already begun.